Good Thursday afternoon. Today is June 25th. Time for a reflection on Thursdays in Black. I have always appreciated God's sense of humor and God's timing. Just check out Psalm 104, verse 26, where the psalmist says, "And that Leviathan you formed to sport in it." What's a Leviathan? I'm not sure, but God made it for sport, just for fun, I think. So last night I was looking for a picture of Joan and me in New Orleans. We had taken a drive east back in the summer of 2015. Campbell had been born a month before, and we took off. Or at least I did. I stopped to visit friends in Arizona, catch a baseball game, and then met up with Joan in Austin, Texas, where we spent time with some other friends and our sister-in-law. And then we traveled further east, New Orleans, for a great night, and that's the picture I was looking for. I wanted to find a picture of us sitting at Café Du Monde enjoying our beignets. I'm not sure what reason it was, but I was looking for it. Also on that trip, we headed to Selma, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and then on to Atlanta. I was going to spend 4 or 5 days at a gathering of ELCA pastors in downtown Atlanta, and Joan had come along for part of the ride. When she flew home, I enjoyed the conference, and then I headed to more baseball games. Surprise! On my way up to Luther Seminary for another one of the Rethink summer experiences. I did find the picture of Joan and me sitting at Café Du Monde, the powdered sugar of the beignets on both of our faces, and a big smile. It was a good memory. Again, I'm not sure what I was looking for, but there it was. But I was also a little surprised because the next picture on my cell phone library was a picture of a book. And why a book, I thought. I looked at it for a while, and then I suddenly realized, it was one of Dr. Martin Luther King's journal books. And I know why I had taken a picture of it, along with a page in that book. Alex, our son, had been working at the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Research and Education, housed at the Stanford campus, for a couple of years. His job? He was a research assistant. And he seemed to enjoy the requirements of contacting people who would be listed with the letters that had been written back and forth with Dr. King. He shared some of those stories of finding people and talking to them, or their descendants, finding out that they had written about some family member having been in jail and asking Dr. King to intercede on their behalf, or sharing some other family issues and asking Dr. King for help. Those pictures brought back memories of a lot of other things as well. The King pictures reminded me also of stories that Alex shared when he was at the Institute and they held their Martin Luther King Day celebrations. He was consistently asked to take pictures as well as be the chauffeur taking people back and forth through SFO. One of the stories that he shared was that he picked up somebody at SFO and was bringing them to the Stanford campus. And they got into their little chit-chat modes. I don't remember the name of the person now, but when Alex told me that he had picked up so-and-so, I immediately recognized the name. I thought, that's a person who was part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And when I asked about that, Alex said, well, yeah, he said he worked with Dr. King back in the 60s. I was immediately jealous. My kid was meeting and talking with people who had made history, meeting and talking with people who had influenced my life. As I sat in the chair last night, I was brought back to 2015, to 2011, when Alex worked for the Institute, and 1968, when Dr. King was assassinated. I thought of what those years meant and what they still mean to me today. There are those moments in life when we recall exactly where we were when we heard news. Usually it was horrible news. Sometimes it was good news. I was too young to really remember JFK's assassination, although I think it was on a Thursday because they canceled football over the weekend. But I do know where I was when Dr. King was assassinated. We had just finished a Boy Scout patrol meeting on April 4th, 1968, a Thursday night. We were just finishing our meeting when the parent at our host said, "You guys need to see the news tonight." I'll bet you know where you were when you heard about planes crashing in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. on September 11th, 2001. Some of you can also remember hearing of the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. It's amazing how those memories get etched into our memory banks, hopefully never to be erased. It was the picture of a book, of pages in the book, that made me think of possibilities and frustrations. 52 years and a couple of months have passed since Dr. King was assassinated, and how much has changed? During that 2015 road trip, Joan and I made sure that we stopped at some of those historic places. We were on our own civil rights journey, if you will. The Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, to reflect on the ugly moment when, in the civil rights campaign, walkers were attacked brutally by police as they attempted to cross the bridge. We stopped in Montgomery, near the state capitol, and also visited the church where Dr. King served as a pastor. And then it was on to Atlanta for our visit to the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Site, as well as Ebenezer Baptist Church, right on the edge of the campus of the Historical Center. We wanted to relive the history that we had experienced. It also makes me sad to realize how little our progress has been in this last half century. A civil rights leader killed while standing on a balcony outside his hotel room brought a time of mourning and a major call for change. The killing of an unarmed black man with a knee on his neck while struggling for life has brought a time of mourning and a major call for change. And all of the other killings that have happened in the meantime have been opportunities for mourning and a major call for change. Will this time, will 2020 be the time that we have the necessary paradigm shift? Will the last half century of halting steps give us the courage to really step forward and realize the dream that Dr. King so eloquently shared with us in 1963? Because I know I have a dream. The ELCA is taking steps in their denouncing of racism. We have our own guilt to own. It was, after all, one of our own who pulled the trigger at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina, killing 9 children of God. We too must take steps to denounce racism. And so I now give a shout out to Reina Velasquez, who has begun a social justice book club here at Shepherd of the Hills. Way to go, Reina. This has been a passion of hers for a long time. And she listened to the voice of God and is calling us to talk about this original sin we hold. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day we will actually see we are all equal in God's eyes. I have a dream we will all actually realize that we are equally loved by God, and that God calls us to love all of God's children unconditionally. God's humor. It gets me from time to time. When I least expect it, there's God with a Leviathan formed to sport with. God's humor. using a simple search to lead me to something deeper and thoughts and wonders that it creates. Well, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. And I ask you to please remember, wash those hands 20 seconds at a time, a couple, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Use the hand lotion afterwards just to make sure you're nice and soft. Stay home if you're sick. Love one another. Practice the important physical distancing of 6 feet apart, no matter where you are, unless, of course, you're with your own family, and then stay as close as you possibly can. Wear your mask, please, even if it's uncomfortable. And of course, as I'm reminded on a daily basis now, we all need to, in the words of Sergeant Esterhaus, be careful out there.